Continuing our journey to learn Python, we will look at conditional statements in Python now. Python supports the if statement, and let's have a look at that now. So let's switch over and let's begin. So okay, I'll make that full screen, and let's open Visual Studio Code, and this is from our previous exercise. Let's create a new file. I'll call that even odd for reasons that will be evident in a minute. .py. So what we will do in this program is take input from the user, take a number as an input from the user, and then check whether the number is even or odd, and the if statement would allow us to perform this check. So let's first take the input, and let's call that imp num, which would be input, and we'll say please input a number, colon space, and remember that the input function always gives us a string. So we need an integer here, so we will convert that to an integer. We will typecast it. So now we have the integer as an input, and now we need to perform a check. The way we do that is using the if statement. So we say if, and then within brackets we put what we want to check. So we want to check if input num is divisible by 0. So how we do that is there is something called a modulo operator. So if we do this, what this means is that divide by 2, so int num, so divide int num by this number and then give the remainder back. So if int num is even, let's say, or okay, let's go to the idle and let's make this a little bit more clear. So we'll explore what this percentage operator, which is known as the modulo operator, does, and they'll jump right back here. So let's fire up idle, and so let's say we have 10 and we do 10% 3, 10 modulo 3. So this operation essentially means divide 10 by 3 and give the remainder back. So what is that? It is 1, right? So that's what comes out. So if you so let's look at another example. So let's say 10 modulo 7. Of course the remainder is 3, right? So the remainder is 3. So how do we determine whether a number is odd or even using this? Of course, if we divide by 2 and the remainder is 0, then it is even. If it is 1, then it is odd, right? Oh, sorry about that. This is a virtual machine, by the way, so that's why that happened. But in any case, so we need to check if the remainder is equal to 0. So this is what is known as a comparison operator. So what this does is checks the right side against the left side. So this is checking if this the operation of that operation of this is equal to 0. So if the remainder is equal to 0, colon and space, and notice that there is an indentation here, and that is very important, and that's how Python determines what is known as a block and scope. We will learn about this more as we go on, but it is very important that when after putting a colon, when you go to the next line, you indent the line using a tab or 4 spaces. If you are using an IDE or a development environment like Visual Studio Code or even idle, then this will be done and maintained automatically for you. In the next lessons, when we look at nested if statements, this will become even more apparent. So if the remainder is equal to 0, then we would like to print that the number is even, and Okay, and so let's run this right now. This is the simplest possible implementation. So let's run that right now. So let's go to our terminal, let's clear our screen, and we are already in the folder, so we'll just say python even odd, and it says input a number, let's say 23, and then see nothing happens. Okay, let's run it one more time, and I will actually input an even number and see you get number even. But as you saw in the last one, if we actually put an odd number here, then nothing happens, because this if statement, so the number is checked against this if statement, and the if statement says that no, this is not true, and we have not specified what happens then, because this, so if the if statement is true, if the if statement is validated to be true, so if this condition is satisfied, then whatever you put in here would be executed. If not, so if it is not true, then whatever is here is not executed. I mean, to prove this point, I can basically print something here. Let's say done, and now let's run it, and you will see that done would be printed out in both cases. So if it is an odd number, the number is even statement is not printed, but the done statement is printed. So basically the execution jumps over whatever is in here. So what we can also do is we can actually specify what to do if this condition is not met, and that part of the code will be run only if the condition is not met. So we can say else colon and print that number is odd. Now if we run this, say 32 number is even, 33 number is odd. So the program works as we intend to. So this is the most basic example of having a conditional statement. We write the keyword if, and then within brackets we specify a condition, and what actually happens under the scene is basically this statement right here evaluates to a boolean. So remember we learned about the data types earlier. So actually if I just copy this and go over to idle, and we have to obviously define int num first. So let's do that here, because under here int num is not defined. So I will define int num to be an even number, and I will paste this. If I press enter right now, you will see that a boolean is returned. So true is a boolean and also false is a boolean. So if I make this an odd number and run the same statement, you will see a boolean is returned. So this operator, which is known as a comparison operator, returns a boolean statement by checking the left side against the right side. And what the if statement basically does is check whether this whatever is in here is it a true boolean or a false boolean. So it basically checks whether it's true or false, the boolean value, and then executes this part of the code if the boolean here is true, or otherwise jumps to the else statement. So if that is a little bit convoluted, or if that seems a little bit more convoluted, or it is not clear just yet, hang on, I'll show you some more examples, and I will show you as we go through this. I hope it will become clear.